Hi there, this is another in the series of videos about why we serve. And tonight I want to talk about harm reduction again. I've talked about it before. It has harm reduction involves a lot of principles, and they're kind of embedded together into this catchy phrase, harm reduction. Who can be against harm reduction, right? Reducing harm. That's good. Um, but it embodies a lot of things that are actually hard to think about and hard to get your head around sometimes, and involve challenging some of the biases and traditional views that we sometimes imbue in our work. The first principle of harm reduction is that everyone has value, and the corollary to that is the public good must be served by addressing the needs of everyone or honoring the value of everyone, not just a few. So that's the first. Everyone has value, and certainly it's fairly easy to get behind that, and yet we have certain precepts and traditional views that sometimes assign no value to people because of certain behaviors. The second principle is that when given information, an individual will often make better choices, even if they don't make the perfect choice, and even if we don't think they're capable of it. A drug user, when given information about how to use drugs safer, will modify their behavior and use drugs safer. They may not be ready to stop using drugs, but they will modify their behavior to be safer. We rely on this, and it's very important. Third principle is that there's a continuum of harm and good. So on this end, we may have a traditional viewpoint that is full abstinence or full whatever, full compliance with some traditional view. And on this end, we have what we view as the opposite of that, which is non-compliance. And we tend to think of them as antipodes, opposites. But actually, there's 1,000 little steps in between, and harm reduction involves figuring out what those little steps are in between and helping provide information about what those steps look like and how to enact them and allow the person to change their behavior. And so this has a lot of good effects. The first of which is they move from really bad behavior to a middle position and achieve some level of stability there. And that allows them to then think about, well, do I want to get a little safer? And eventually they may even approach that ideal traditional viewpoint, full abstinence or full compliance. Or maybe they will find a midpoint where they are functional and happy and doing well. And so that's the first benefit, is people do improve. The second benefit is it tends to help people not do what we call flip-flopping, which is they're down here in non-compliance, and we convince them they must move to compliance, and so they do, and then they do well, and stress builds up, and then they moved back to full non-compliance, and then shame builds up, and they move back to compliance. And this yo-yoing or flip-flopping. As an example, dieting is one of those. We recognize that starving yourself to death might help you achieve some ideal goal of weight, but it breaks down your body chemistry and muscle and overall health, and leads to binging, which is that non-compliant, and which leads to shame, which may lead back to starvation, and so on, and this is unhealthy. So we understand the benefits of harm reduction in some other domains. We just have to be willing to apply it to some views, some domains where we have more traditional views and stronger viewpoints, perhaps. I want to talk about harm reduction in the context of, there's one more principle that I think is real important in harm reduction. We tend to think of behavior as broken or fixed, but behavior is just behavior, in my view, in the view of harm reduction. And behavior is usually functional. There is usually something being gained by a behavior, even if lots of baggage comes along with it. So when I see bad behavior or behavior I don't understand, I ask myself, what could be the positive benefit of that behavior? And if you begin to understand that, then you can begin to apply harm reduction and help somebody understand that you're achieving this benefit, but it has all these harms. We could achieve the same benefit, at half the harm. Or maybe we could achieve the whole benefit at very little harm. So Anyway, those are some principles of harm reduction. Now let me talk about the domain I have applied it in several times. It's a very non-traditional way to apply it, or place to apply it, and that is mental health. I'm going to talk specifically. I've applied it at least 4 times this week in the cold weather situations we've been in, where there are, people who are assumed unable to take care of themselves in the cold, who need, and it's assumed that they need rescuing, or they can't participate, or they're too far gone to get help in some way or another. As an example, one such person was invited to one of our outdoor groups to participate in prayer, and absolutely floored us all by his extremely meaningful, extremely well thought out prayers and sharing. So by expecting better behavior from someone and allowing them to proceed, even though perhaps the traditional viewpoint says they can't, brings out far better behavior and reduces the harm and stigma associated with that situation. Talking about another situation, there is someone who projects, I'm going to use a frowned on word, but it's the street language. He projects a crazy cloud all around him. He talks crazy, he acts crazy, he acts maybe even a little dangerous on occasion, and everybody leaves him alone. And he asks for something, and then he goes to acting crazy. And so we fall all over ourselves sometimes to get what he wants and get him out of there. But that, in my opinion, is functional behavior. He is protecting himself on the street by projecting this crazy cloud. People leave him alone. He is getting more out of us sometimes by projecting the crazy cloud. He doesn't have to interact with us, and maybe he gets what he needs faster or whatever. But when we expect him to interact, he's perfectly capable of it and always does it. And it's really amazing and wonderful to see. So, he has set up a behavior, but by realizing he can engage in that, he can get that protection by acting the way he chooses to act, but not all the time, and not in every situation, and not with a manipulative intention. We're able to help him be better. And, he has value, and I know he's capable. He's way more capable than most people assume he is, because I've seen it. He may have challenges that are very real. He may have the need for the behavior that is very real. But I also know that if he will persevere and change a little bit at a time, he can get to a much better place where he can have a better life, the life he's intended to have. So that's why we serve, and thanks for listening to this somewhat lengthy one. Bye.